Probably best known for the songs Dem Golden Slippers and Carry Me Back to Old Virginia, James Bland was the most prolific black composer of the late 19th century. Though he was born in the Queensboro of New York City and spent nearly half of his life in Europe, Bland would spend his final years in Pennsylvania, where Golden Slippers was the anthem of that city's Mummers Parade. Despite his prodigious talents and public acclaim, Bland would die destitute, and his legacy would be tarnished, much like that of Stephen Foster, because the best-known work and the most popular compositions of both men fell into the problematic and subjugating world of the minstrel era. Despite this, or perhaps due in part to the exposure the minstrel stage provided, James Bland broke into the strictly white world of music publishing like a force of nature, helping other black composers such as the immutable Scott Joplin. So tonight, let's take some time together to celebrate the life and accomplishments of this often overlooked musical Pennsylvanian.
Dear listeners, Dr. Pennsylvania.
Bland was born in New York a decade prior to the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation. His parents, both educated, free blacks. His father, in fact, having been one of the first black men to graduate from Oberlin College in Ohio in the 1940s. And they expected much of James. James would enroll at Howard University around the same time his father enrolled in order to study law. His family had moved to the D.C. area some years early in James' childhood, as his father was an examiner for the U.S. Patent Office. In fact, his father was the first black man to be an examiner over the U.S. Patent Office. And in his early teenage years, Bland would pick up the omnipresent banjo, an instrument so popular in the day that they could not make them fast enough. The banjo had been purchased by his father, and I've read in a couple different places that it cost about $8 and was a mail-order model. 6 years, countless hours of self-instruction later, James Bland left Howard University and joined Callender's Georgia Minstrels alongside the ineffable Billy Cursans, whose unique minstrel performances combined traditional African folklore with contemporary entertainment and, as such, were popular among blacks as well as whites. Cursan was also one of the first to establish an all-African-American minstrel troupe, but this isn't an abbreviated list of Billy Cursan's achievements, but you should familiarize yourself with him at least so that the memory of those achievements does not atrophy. A couple of years prior to the troupe leaving for Europe, where Bland would spend the next couple decades, he composed one of the most enduring pieces, supposedly inspired by a homesick classmate at Howard University. Carry Me Back to Old Virginia. The song popularized his name and the sheet music, the form of music sales at the time. Remember, this is before records. This is even before the cylinder disc was really around. So regardless, the sheet music sales sold so well that Bland was heralded as one of, and in many cases argued as, the greatest popular composer of his time. The Commonwealth of Virginia would declare Carry Me Back to Old Virginia as the state song, a position that it held from 1940 until 1997 when it was retired due to the racial language in the song. And I just really quickly want to play a brief excerpt with Marian Anderson singing. I'll note too that Anderson was born in Philadelphia and actually spent her childhood not far from where Bland died. As I mentioned, the song was retired as Virginia's state song in the late 1990s, primarily due to use of the word darkies as well as the evolving racial climate of the United States. And I'm not suggesting that anyone ought to be comfortable with the fact that this particular pejorative was common in the American diction not particularly long ago. though I'd like to think that we can all face up to history and try to come together and accept and examine it. And before I start sounding preachy, I think it might surprise some people to learn that Bland and the other black members of the group performed in blackface. I don't know if this is because it confused audiences at the time to see black people who were not uniformly black, but there it is. History is weird, and it's often difficult to understand, and people's actions become increasingly irrational with each year that passes. All in all, Bland may have composed 700 songs of various styles, but like Stephen Foster, it would be his compositions for the minstrel genre that would be the most popular, and by that stretch, his most enduring. Even in his own day, Bland was promoted as, quote, the Prince of Negro Songwriters. And he is known to have performed before other princes, notably the Prince of Wales, whose Prince of Wales trophy, which he sponsored back in 1925, has annually been awarded to the NHL's Eastern Conference championship winner. The Eastern Conference, in fact, was known up until 2004 as the Prince of Wales Conference, and on a side note, the Prince of Wales and the Campbell conferences, it just sounds much better than Eastern and Western Conference and NHL and professional hockey. Stop trying to win over non-hockey fans. You're just not going to do it that way. That's a bit off topic. Anyhow, during Bland's European period, 1881 till about 1901, he lived in London and was, early on, making a reported $10,000 to $12,000 a year. The President of the United States at that time made $50,000 annually, and I've seen some political and economic sites that, because I was interested, that suggest that a common laborer around 1890 made a little less than $500 in a year. But by the time Bland returned to the United States, he was somewhat less than wealthy. Financial mismanagement, indifferent music publishers, and changing entertainment environments, notably the demise of the minstrel stage and to the rise of vaudeville, which one could argue is an evolution of the traveling minstrel show. All this made finding work difficult for Bland. So he worked in an office, a law office, for the last few years of his life. He published a musical comedy trying to do something more modern. It was titled Sporting Girl, and I've heard it's contained 18 songs. I've never been able to find any copies of it or much information of it. Granted, I haven't looked extensively for it. I'm sure it's out there, but it was pretty much immediately unsuccessful, and for it, he was only paid about $250. James Allen Bland died of tuberculosis in Philadelphia on May 5th, 1911. He is buried in Ballackinwood's Marion Memorial Park, initially in an unmarked grave, but the American Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers, also known as ASCAP, or ASCAP. ASCAP's kind of funny. I'm going with ASCAP. Anyhow, ASCAP helped locate his grave and paid for a small monument as well as keeping of the grounds, dedicating that monument in 1939. The Lions Club of Virginia dedicated a headstone, which was set there in 1946. It gets the date of his death wrong by a day. There are a lot of different bits of information out there regarding Bland. The 700 song figure is disputable. The Lions Club grave actually cites 600 songs plus Carry Me to Old Virginia for a total of 601 songs. Only about 50 or so songs were ever published in Bland's name, and even that's debated. I'm trying to give a rounded, albeit brief, account which focuses on his music, because that is going to be Bland's legacy. Never marrying, it's not known if he ever fathered any children, so the music really is the known legacy. It is worth noting, though, that he was a gifted and well-regarded comedian on stage, and he possessed some acrobatic talents. but it's the music that will continue to endure. And so I'll leave you with Golden Slippers, which is a song probably as popular today in old time circles as it's ever been. It's a very common, I would say it's a canonical tune among string band players. The song's also a favorite with Philadelphia's Mummers and the Mummers Parade, which I'll have to speak about someday soon. So this version, recorded in May of 1928 by Vernon Dalhart and Carson Robinson, is very much in the country blues and old-time manner. And they probably learned it from being kids. They were both born in the 1890s, being kids and seeing these minstrel shows traveling, and it wouldn't surprise me, knowing just how extensively he traveled, if they had not actually seen the composer perform the tune. Neither Vernon Dalhart or Carson Robinson are Pennsylvanian, but here's their 1928 recording of Golden Slippers by James Allen Bland.
Slippers am laid away, case I ain't going to wear 'em till my wedding day. And the long-tailed coat that I love so well, I'll wear it in the church in the morning. And my long white robe that I bought last June is going to get changed, case it fits too soon. The old gray horse that I used to drive, I'll hitch him to the church in the morning. Oh, them a golden slippers, oh, them a golden slippers, them a golden slippers I was going to wear, case they look so neat. Oh, them a golden slippers, oh, them a golden slippers, them a golden slippers I was going to wear to walk the golden street. My old banjo hangs on the wall, case it ain't been tuned since way last fall. But the doctors all say we will have a good time when we ride in the church in the morning. There's old brother Ben and sister Luce, they will telegraph the news to Uncle Back the Juice. What a great camp meeting that will be that day when we ride in the church in the morning. Oh, them a golden slippers, oh, them a golden slippers, them a golden slippers I was going to wear, case they look so neat. Oh, them a golden slippers, oh, them a golden slippers, them a golden slippers I was going to wear to walk the golden street. So it's goodbye chillin', I'll have to go where the rain don't fall and the wind don't blow, and your Ulster coat you will not need when you ride in the chariot in the morning. But your golden slippers must be nice and clean, and your age must be just sweet 16. Your white kid gloves you will have to wear when you ride in the chariot in the morning. Oh, them a golden slippers, oh, them a golden slippers, them a golden slippers I was going to wear, case they look so neat. Oh, them a golden slippers, oh, them a golden slippers, them a golden slippers I was